I was born in 58, actually. I'm an old man, man.
You don't look that. You know, I thought you were my age, bro.
I know. Well, that's good because it's good, clean living. It reverses the friggin' clock.
Man, doesn't it ever?
Yeah,
Doesn't it?
absolutely.
So do you still smoke cigarettes?
I'm a vapor.
Vapor.
I changed to vaping about 5 years ago.
We do
Yeah.
heavy vaping on this show.
So it's allowed? Gotta be two-fisted here, just in case.
You mean like this?
It's like, I'm like the typical addict with anything. It doesn't matter. If I like it, I gotta have two of it. You know, it's like insane.
Oh man. So the first thing I got to ask you,
Yeah.
top man, when I was, and I already mentioned this, but for the viewers, when I was in prison, I was, thinking about, man, I sure like to escape all the time. And I'm in prison, so I sure would like to escape right now. And I'm looking around at all the people sticking needles in their arms. In fact, I got to tell you this little story. I walked in the locker room one day, right? And this was right after I got to prison. And there was 8 or 10 Thai people, right? Sitting on the floor, both, Indian style, around a little basin or a little bowl full of water. And these dudes passed a needle all the way around the circle.
Ooh.
So these guys are escaping and they're not doing it very artistically. But at some point I was like, man, I'm an escape artist. I came home thinking about that. And then you beat me to the punch, man. You got this great tattoo. Tell me about how that came about.
Well, thank God, I'm going to say thank God, I got most of my tattoos in recovery. So I didn't, thank God. And I'm saying that because I know some of the friggin' things I wanted to get.
Right.
And I'd have a shitload of cover overs, which,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, but everything was about, you know what? I wanted to make my body hard to go back out. Like if I ever wanted to go back out, I wanted it to remind me of the life that I had. So tattoo artist, escape artist, I need to always remember that's what I am. And, I just wanted to say, like, I got this disease, but I got to learn how to live with it. It ain't ever going to go away.
Ever.
And it's like the hitchhiker, the dark passenger, whatever you want to call it, it lives in me.
Yeah.
And we got to live together in harmony somehow. And so that's just a reminder. I also have a God tattoo that I wanted to, because I'm not a religious guy, but
okay.
I'm alive because of God. I should have been dead. And I'm sure you could probably say the same thing. You should have been dead. You could look back on how many times you should have died. I mean, logically, right?
I can't count that high.
Hey, you know what? We're here for a friggin' reason. And it's kind of like figure out why I'm here and use it to the benefit of others, not just me, So that's why I jumped on doing this with you. I mean, this is awesome because, look, this epidemic is friggin' all around, and it's kind of like you got to fight fire with fire. And, who better than somebody who's been there and got out of it and can now friggin' live, It's like, wow, how cool is that?
The odds are extraordinary that we're alive and breathing today. I want to jump right into your story and just kind of take me back. I guess it'd be kind of like if you were in a 12-step room and you had the hour to talk and share some of the salient points about your journey.
Okay.
So yeah, if you wherever you want to feel like starting, jump right in.
Jump in and ask me questions along the way, because I think that's how I wish meetings would go sometimes for newcomers, to ask questions like, stop, I want to know, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I will.
So I'm the oldest boy of, there were 4 of us in the family. So 4 boys, and my mother was typically my parent. You know, I never had a fixed father. And so stepfathers would come and go out of my life. So let's say the male figure was absent. So basically, a lot of responsibility fell on me. And you know how they say rewrite your childhood. If you want to get through shit, rewrite it. And I look back, and all that shit was to make me who I am today. Because there was a long time I bitched about it. I had all this responsibility. I was never, all this crap, right? And I said, man, that made me so independent today as a man because I know how to do stuff. So you know what? It was what it was. The thing was, and this is maybe the alcoholic or addict trait, because I hear everybody say the same thing. If you would have asked me why I drank and drugged, the first 2 years of my recovery, I would have said, because it was fun, because that's just what I did. But the real reason was underneath all that, whatever I showed on the outside, I never let people see me sweat. But on the inside, I felt like I felt like a fraud. I would hang with people and act the part, but never inside did I feel confident, you know. So there was something missing. But when I first drank, I got that. It filled that thing, man.
Hmm.
So, I hear it all the time. We all have that connection, like something's missing inside. And maybe it's a brain thing. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I can't. But I know that we've all had that feeling. And so when you introduce drugs and alcohol into your life, it's like, woohoo, the magic potion, man.
Right.
This is how I'm going to live for the rest of my life.
I have arrived.
Yeah, exactly. So, the 70s were pretty much a lot of tripping, because back then that's what you did. You're tripping on this, tripping on that.
Mushrooms, paper.
Yeah, I never saw colors and I never jumped off a building and wanted to fly, thank God. So, and then basically the 80s. Now, see, I was a guy because I didn't believe in myself. I also came from the projects in Newark, New Jersey. I don't know if you ever heard of Newark.
Oh, yeah.
But, when we were on welfare and, I didn't come from, money.
Right.
And what I didn't know as a kid was I did not like that life, nor did I want that as an adult. So repeating the pattern, which I didn't know back then, I didn't want that for myself. I always wanted more. So all those dead end jobs, I worked in factories, I delivered friggin' auto parts. I didn't know where I was going. I was all about the next party. Okay. So when people started growing up when they were supposed to, like 17, 18, 19, right, had a direction, I didn't fucking know, bro. I thought, well, I'll worry about that tomorrow. Like I didn't worry about shit either. That's the crazy thing it was all about today. I lived in the day.
Right now.
As an addict, I had a one day at a time friggin' mentality. And it's so hard to get that in sobriety. It's like, how come I can't live one day at a time,
That's a great point, man. It's really the same thing, maybe just inverted a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So I see this commercial. I was 24.
Okay.
I see this commercial for Be All You Can Be.
Oh.
I was like, I'm going to go into the Army.
Work.
And I did. I ended up, here's the other thing. If I would have listened to everybody else with how basic training was, I would have ran the other way. But something in me wanted this. And dude, when I went to basic training, I had a friggin' ball. I had a blast. It was fun.
No shit.
They yelled at you. They friggin' intimidated you. But what they did was, and it was kind of like sobriety, they knock your ass down. They bust your ego down.
Right size.
And they build you back up. And it's just like recovery. You got to get humbled. You got to get knocked down. And then you could rebuild yourself, in recovery with the character building stuff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it. Like, wow, this is great. The problem was the alcoholic was in the making. I mean, it had started.
Okay. Well,
So,
well, wait a minute now. They don't drink very much in the military, though, do
what are you kidding me? It's freaking totally accepted. We had a bar on base and it was called the Headbuster.
they?
You know, I'm serious. And so that's how you let loose, man, because, you know, basic training, you can't drink. But once you're out, you could friggin', you know, on your time, you could do whatever. And it was normal for people to pass out and, you know, they'd wake up with weird shit on their head because we, you know, all mess with each other. Whoever passed out first was screwed. You know,
Markers and shaved
oh,
heads. Yeah.
I woke up and I had these little white things tied to my head, and like I look like Farina on the Little Rascals.
For the listeners who don't know, this guy is very well. He's got a West Coast Choppers T-shirt on right now. He's
I know, but I'm from
got
the East Coast.
lots of great artwork on. Yeah, hails from New Jersey. Not the kind of guy you'd shove out of the way in a bathroom or in a dark alley.
Well, I'm not a big guy, but I was a loud guy. You
Okay.
know, I had to be because I'm only 5'6".
Okay.
So I had to be scarier than the 6 foot tall guy.
Nice.
So if I acted crazy, people didn't know what to do with me. You know what I mean? So so that was my armor and my facade was to be crazy and friggin' yell. And then people didn't want, you know, they didn't know what the hell I was capable of.
Oh yeah.
So that was another thing, you know, being a smaller guy, I had to friggin' put on this thing, you know?
Hmm.
Here's the thing. Whoever I was inside, I was not connected with, nor did I know, you know, as a 24-year-old guy, how do you figure out who you are? Like, who gives a crap about that?
Well, at that point, it sounds like what I've gotten so far here, Mr. Sober, is that is that I guess I can use your first name, right?
Nick.
Nick. Yeah. No. It sounds like coming up, you didn't have that father figure to kind of put you in touch with that stuff. So you put on that armor to protect yourself, and by the time you get to the military, you're talking about age 23, 24. It's kind of too late to get that stuff that you should have got when you were young, because now you got a full-time job, you're busy, you know, you're dealing with stuff, and the alcoholism's starting to kick up, right?
Right. And then life happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like you're on a conveyor belt, and then 5 years go by, 10 years go by. Before you know it, I'm like 30, you know, I'm a 35-year-old guy. It's like, what happened?
I love that. I love that metaphor. I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Conveyor belt of time. We're all on it. Nobody can get off
Yeah.
it. Damn sure don't want to get off of
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah, but I wish, you know, well, I don't wish, like, if I think I could go back and change things and start over
Right.
with what I know today, I'd rather not, only because of all those painful, you know, the growth is when you friggin' crash and burn, bro. It really is. I grew the most when I crashed and burned and couldn't go on anymore. Seriously.
So tell me about that. How did you? I mean, keep going in your story. I want to hear like how you went up through the military, where the wheels started falling off. Like maybe give me a story or two towards
Yeah.
the.
Well,
What,
through the military, you know, it was evident I was an alcoholic in the making because when other guys would drink a few, I had no turnoff switch. I was going to go until everybody was gone. I was always the last to leave somewhere, you
right.
know, always. And, you know, that was an indicator, you know,
I never
when
knew it wasn't normal to close the bar.
no, no, you know, that's what everybody did. But why am I the only one here? You know, there were a lot of things, you know, I think God tried to get my attention all along the way here and over there. And it was kind of like, I don't see anything. I'm going to keep going. But, you know, it's funny because in the military, I was actually in for 11 years.
Okay.
That was going to be my career. Seriously, that was thank God. I mean, I had that, you know, direction for a while. But in the military, because I was an alcoholic, they
Yeah.
kept riding my ass about my drinking, because the drinking started during work hours
Okay.
where I couldn't stop. I had shakes and stuff like that. And that, that's the stages of alcoholism. I mean, when you get to the shakes,
Mm.
you need a drink to get normal. That's another indicator that I chose not to see.
Yeah.
So because they were riding my ass, I figured, now this is a really stupid idea, but I'm sure you could understand what I'm saying. I figured, all right, they always smell my breath and they know what I'm drinking. I know this guy and I'll just start doing heroin. It's like, all right, me and my bright ideas. And, I have this, I heard this saying in recovery that you can't fix your fucked up mind with a fucked up mind. And
Right.
that's for sure, because I was not with the brightest ideas, you know what I mean?
Couldn't
So
be.
I ended up hooked on heroin and crack. And that was the last couple of years of being in the military. So I was early 30s by this time. And they were going to process me out because a lot of things happened. I
Yeah.
passed out with keys
Mm.
to all the like the whole armory and all the weapon keys, and we were supposed to go in a convoy the next morning, and I get zonked,
Yeah.
and I pass out in my car, and I don't know what happens. I wake up at some hospital strapped down to the bed in my friggin' army fatigues, and I'm like, uh-oh, uh-oh.
Ooh.
I got the keys. They're all waiting. They don't know where I am. It was like this whole, there were so many things like that that kept on happening. And I just kept going. And I was with this girl at the time.
Sounds a
She,
little unmanageable.
she didn't drink or drug, this girl.
Yeah.
She was a good girl. And
Why'd you pick a girl like that?
I always pick good girls, and because that's what I wanted. I didn't want them like me.
Right.
Because I did go with a girl that was like me, and it was like, talk about crazy physical fighting, and it was insane. So I knew good girls were, you know, gonna level me out or balance me out or whatever.
Or die trying.
Yeah. Well, this girl said, alcohol is more important to you than I am. And she said, it's like you're in love with it. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is when we broke up, she ended up, I mean, it wasn't going to ever work. I wasn't going to stop. It was just the way it was. One night, I'm by myself, and I used to drink until I passed out at night. And I look over, and in my bed, on the pillow next to me, is the bottle. And it was and it was like that vision of what she said. You're in love with the alcohol more than me. And I
Wow.
looked over like, here I am with my love.
Moment of clarity.
Only for a second, that brief second, I went, holy shit, she was right. Fuck it. Who cares?
Right.
And then I was back into, and at the same time, I used to see this commercial would come on, and this guy would say, there's no harm or there's no shame in being an alcoholic. The only shame is when you do nothing about it. And man, I hated that guy. I was like, anytime he came on, I'd throw shit at the TV and like.
That reminds me of those commercials I know you recall about, I think it was in the Bush era, about this is your brain, and show the egg. They drop the egg in the frying pan and it says, this is your brain on drugs. I always used to look at that and go, man, I like fried eggs.
Bro, I used to do that. This is your egg. This is your brain on drugs. Ha ha. And I'd laugh, and I'd actually pour rubbing alcohol in there too. How I didn't blow up, I don't know. But yeah, that commercial. So anyway, that was the end of her.
Yeah.
That was the end of my career.
Okay.
I was 34 years old, and I came into a nice sum of money. It was like around $60,000.
Yeah.
And that summer, and I'll never forget that summer, because when I said your biggest growth comes from when you crash and burn.
Yeah.
At this time, I was totally isolating, didn't have any friends anymore. I lived in the house until I was ready to go cop. I'd leave the house, get what I needed, go back. And $60,000 lasted me one summer. It was gone. And that was, yes, when I think of the massive amounts that I was putting in my body at that point, I should be dead, bro. You know, there's no, you know, obviously God had other plans, but that was the beginning of my bottom. The thing was, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to, I don't, and the last resort was to tell somebody because I didn't want anybody to know my pain and my shit. You know, I was going to take it to the grave. And, you know, basically,
Were you thinking you could beat this at that point?
yeah,
Yeah.
still, after, dude, I was living in an apartment where I didn't even take the garbage out anymore. I just had it all friggin' piled up. I used to watch TV with gnats flying all around, and I'd be watching TV like this, swatting, and that was normal.
What a metaphor, man. That's like the problem's glaringly obvious, yet
Holy,
fixing it is too much. And we just put up with it, the stench in
right.
our own face.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah,
metaphor.
and it becomes the new normal. And that was the friggin' problem. Like, this is okay with me. You
Wow.
know, I didn't look in the mirror anymore because I didn't like who was looking back at me. And I remember putting all the bottles, like for a while, I couldn't pile them up anymore. So I'd throw them under the bed. And it was almost like the never ending black hole where another bottle would fit. And I go, wow, man, that's a big bed under there. And I just keep until they started coming out the other end.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Well, then I could look under and see how much I actually drank, you know. But this was the beginning of the end of that whole life. And you know how they say that you reach a jumping off point where you're ready to friggin' just die because it's too painful. The shit is too much. I can't take it emotionally, mentally. There was no spiritual anything in my life. Well, it was like go left and shoot myself in the friggin' head, or go right and hope that a bunch of people that I don't even friggin' know can help me.
Yeah. And you're
Wow.
probably like me in that you don't like to ask for help too.
Hell no. Are you kidding me? That father figure that I didn't have. I mean, I learned how not to cry, you know, suck it up, you know, deal with it as a, you know, you're a fucking man, you know, suck it up, men don't cry, all this fucking crap that added to it. Because the truth was, I was living bottled up with all this shit. Where the hell was it going to go, bro?
Yeah.
It can't friggin' go anywhere, right? So the first thing was ask for help. That was hard as hell, but I broke down one day. I just started crying. I said, God, if you're real, do something, please. And it came from a really humble place.
This
I
is
was
in
like,
your apartment with all this trash and
yeah,
gnats flying
with
around
all the
your
shit,
face.
with all the shit. I was just like, God, please, you got to help me if you're real. This was the first time that I ever came from my heart talking to God. And it wasn't, I hung in there for a little while. So it wasn't right after that. All of a sudden, bro, one day I was filled with hope. Now, I don't know where that came from. Well, I do know where that came from. That came from a higher power.
Love.
I was like, where, holy shit, I feel different today. Like, where this, I knew all I had to do was just tell my grandfather at the time, he was living above me, tell him, and then the next steps will fall into place somehow. I just kind of knew that. So I ended up going to a detox. I went to a rehab. I went to a halfway house. And then I went to a three-quarter house. So I was back a year. I didn't want to come home. I really didn't. When I got a taste of sobriety, it was almost like the little kid in me woke up. Like, wow, this is like, life is good.
Oh,
Like how, when I used to think I hated everybody, I hated this fucking world, yous all sucked, you were all out to get me. That's how I used to think. And the weird thing about this was this world did not change, but I changed in the world. So now I look out a different pair of eyes. And
Oh,
it's like,
man.
wow, how cool is that? I thought everybody was drug addicts and, just was trying to put a knife in your back when you weren't looking. And then I met up with good people, better people. And, I'm one of those guys, I believe in the law of attraction with whoever you are is what you're going to attract.
Yes.
Okay. And I thank God for that because now who I am today, I attract better people. And, I'm into, I don't know, spirituality started with just God.
Yeah.
I don't go to church. It's not my thing to join any religious kind of thing. I think I look at it as everybody is right in their culture with who they call God. Who am I to say, you're wrong, you're wrong? No, I believe everybody, is right.
I like
As long as,
Yeah, I
yeah,
like to say that there is capital T truth in all spiritualities, all
yeah,
varieties of religion.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. So that was the beginning, was believing in God.
Now,
Then
hold on. Before you go on, I want to ask you a question here because
yeah,
you got to this point, which is miraculous, and I suspect there are people that are listening to this and they're saying, "Hey, that's great, but either I wasn't raised with a God that I could even pray to at that moment, if I could come to that moment, or I come from a different tradition. But there's always a God. But maybe I'm an atheist. Maybe I hate religion. Maybe Christianity burned me when I was a kid. Um, how did you come to just one day waking up and going, all right, I'm going to talk to God? Like, what was your upbringing in that?
well, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I think that was part of the problem was with me swaying away from all that
Right.
because that type of God that I was taught was the punishing, you got to do this or you're going against. I didn't like any of that. So when I got old enough, I didn't go to church anymore. I ran the other way. I was like, the thing is, like when I help newcomers, that's part of my thing. I think my mission in life is to help others with what I know and how I got through it. So one of the things is you don't have to think of God. You could think of, just like we say, good orderly direction, which is the initials for God. Good
Yeah.
orderly direction, because what I didn't know as an addict and an alcoholic was my way just got me in deeper and deeper and deeper. And if that was the case, how was I ever going to get out of this? I had to learn that there were people that were there before me that can help guide me out of this shit, and that there was a force. I don't care what you want to call it, the universe. There was some force working to the good
Yeah.
of Nick and
Right.
not, pulling me the other way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
people think if there's a good force, there's probably a bad force. I don't know about. I mean, if I don't know the answer, I don't need to dig that far down to figure it out. I don't like to think that hard, bro. I don't like to analyze anything. If I don't see the answer right there, I'm not supposed to know. It's that simple.
That's a
I'm a
good point.
simple guy.
You know what I like? I've been thinking about this quote a lot this week. It's a lot of people never find God. And again, God can be good orderly direction or the universe or Mother Nature, whatever you wanted to call it. But a lot of people don't find God because they won't look low enough. And I've been thinking about that a lot this week. Does that resonate with you?
Well, what I'm thinking is, if you don't believe what I'm saying or what you're hearing, what do you got to lose? Because it's always pride in the way. It's pride or ego in some type of way. There
Precisely.
can't be. If there can't be, then why is there can't be?
Right.
And what do you have to lose? If I have a life of drugs and alcohol to lose, I think I'll lose it. Thank you. I think I'm good. I'll believe, and I wouldn't have believed either, bro, if it didn't happen to me.
Mm.
Maybe I would have if 50 million people were saying it, then maybe I'd be on board. But because it happened to me, I know, that's my proof. So all I say is, if you don't have proof, ask for it. It's that simple. Hey, if you're real, prove it to me. Say it and see what happens.
And open your ears. Because
Yeah.
like you said, there was a lot of indicators prior to that, right?
Oh
Where you
yeah.
were getting signals that you were ignoring, and it's really just being open, I think, to that message.
Yep.
Always there.
One of the guys, when I do reflect back and I say I should have been dead there, because I could see where God got me out of there.
Yeah.
There was a guy, I had ripped him off. It was a dealer in Jersey City. And I ripped him off a nice amount of money.
Okay.
Then, like a dingaling, I go back in the neighborhood like a week later to go cop. And word got out that Nick was back in town. And so there were 5 guys, one of which was the dealer. He took a knife and stuck it to my stomach and said, "Give me what you just bought." And I said, no.
Uh,
No, I don't. I had four bags, bro, $40 in my pocket. I was not going to give up for my life. That's insanity. I should have died. That was just one time. So you know what? I mean, I would have did anything for the drug. Now I'll do anything for my recovery.
Damn.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get that, man. The idea that I'd do anything. Like I remember this one story. I think the guy's name's Tom Brady. He's an old AA speaker, and he has this ridiculous story about, and he's one of the best storytellers I've ever heard. He's got this amazing story about, it's the middle of winter and there's a blizzard outside, and he wants to get some moonshine, but the place where they're selling it's like 10 miles from his house, and he's got no vehicle. So he wanted it so bad he jumped onto a bicycle in his underwear and rode that bicycle 10 miles to get the moonshine, and that was by any means necessary to get drunk. And so that same effort, the other direction, is sure to yield a good result.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember riding my motorcycle in the winter around ice to
Yeah,
go get
Jersey.
yeah, in Jersey City, like to go get my crap. And the lengths that you go to, when you look back, I could see how insane my thinking was. So if that's how insane I was, think about how long it was going to take to rewire my brain in sobriety. I'm an alcoholic. I want to be zapped good now.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem, because time takes time. And I hate that saying.
Right.
I hate it because I want it now. But you know what? It is really a little at a time, a little at a time. Before I know it, a year goes by, 2 years, and I look back and I say, man, how I grew. Like I don't see me growing every day. But when I look back a year late, a year before, I see how much further I came.
So you've got the perspective of significant time. A lot of my listeners, I think, out there are still using,
Yeah.
still drinking, and maybe they can make it a day. Maybe they're not going to meetings. Maybe they can make it a week or 3 days, but the perspective of time is very compressed when you're at the turning point. Maybe you have had a moment where you cried out to God or something, but you still haven't stopped. Can you go back to that time and just, like,
Well, let me, I'm going to finish my story, and then I'm going to touch right on what you're saying, because there was a relapse.
okay.
I was 20 years sober. Okay. 20 years sober, had a back injury. Now I was in I found another career. That's the cool part, was when the Army kicked me out, I had no, after the 60 grand was gone,
Right.
I crashed and burned, spoke to God, got this, now I'm on this journey of recovery. So out of the halfway house, I I don't even know how it happened. You know how it happened? It was one of those, miraculous things. One day you think the day is going to be like the usual day before. You think it's just going to be a typical day. And then something crazy happens and it changes your whole life. Okay. It was a day like that. I had a minimum wage job, which killed me, bro, because I used to be a sergeant. You
Right.
know, I'm making 505 an hour. Oh my God, it freaking killed me. So for 5 months, I took a bus to work. And I didn't usually do this shit. So the thing was, I needed to be humble. And boy, I was getting humbled. So I go to this department store where I was part of the demolition crew. They were redoing their store. And one day I walk in, so it's 5 months later. And I remember people saying, Nick, you just hang in there and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Let God open up the doors. And I was like, but you don't understand. I need to, but I need to, and they said, Nick, shut up. You don't know anything. Just keep. And man, it used to irk me. But this one day I go in the store and two guys are laying a floor, so they're doing commercial floor laying. And it was one of those days. And I said, man, I never thought of that. That looks so cool. Like they're I have a creative side to me, and I like to make something shitty look nice.
I can tell.
I
Yeah.
remodeled my house. I did all kinds of,
Really?
so it was like right up my alley. I was like, man. So I started talking to them. They gave me the business agent's information. I got into the union. And then I did that for 25 years. So
Beautiful.
there was the career.
Nice.
Like it just laid in my lap, bro. I didn't have to do anything.
Man.
So what these people were telling me were right. I just had to be patient.
There was a promise for you there, a promise fulfilled.
God, it was
Relief of
awesome.
financial
Awesome.
fears, man, and
Yeah.
insecurities. That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's where confidence was being built because, dude, it sucked. I was a 35-year-old apprentice.
Right.
Okay. So in the trades, it's 20-year-old guys coming in, and here I am, like grandpa.
More humility.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I didn't even care because this was the beginning of something, that I could do and be good at. Like, and I was excited about.
One thing I want to interject too. I know for a lot of people as well, they think, shit, maybe they're 40, 50, or even 60. Or I know a guy who just got sober at 70, right? And they're thinking, man, the things I'm good at going to jail. I know how to handle myself in prison. I've always worked these shit jobs. And they can't see that those promises are going to come into their lives in completely unexpected, wholly unanticipated ways. And they're wondering, I can't change my life because I've already gone down this road. But that's not true, and you're proof of that.
No, and the thing is, too, it's the same as what I was saying. Take this alcoholic and addict that I have and turn it into something positive. Because now that's what I got to give.
Yes.
If you're in jail, that's another friggin' experience. It's another notch in your belt where you can help other people. Are you kidding me? You're building your resume. That's what I say.
Nice one.
Building your friggin' resume.
I love your positivity.
Well, because dude, if you just stay in the negativity, you're gonna create more of it. It's
Breathe.
like take that shit and turn it into something good. You know what blows me away is when gang members get themselves out and then they help other gang members to get the fuck out and to actually live a life. That blows me away because who knows better than that guy? You know what I mean? So take whatever the hell you were handed and turn it into something positive.
I
That's
got
all.
to share this with you. This is one of the more ridiculous ideas that have come through this brain right here. But it hit me one day. If the government, and I know this is outlandish, you guys can eat it up on the comments if you want to, but if the government really wanted to solve the drug problem, who better to work with all the addicts and fix them than the drug dealers that sold all the drugs to us?
Yeah.
Something
Well,
to think about.
yeah. I know, but I like to live in the solution, bro. So if I see like there's a big ass problem, all I could do, like if I think about what I can do, I'm walking throughout my life in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm running to this one. This is what I can do. I can be a good guy. I'm not going to stab you in the back. I'm not going to rob you today. But I'm a good guy. I'm going to hold the door for you. I'm going to do good things.
Yeah.
And then that's going to change that guy. And it's like the ripple effect. The ripple effect out. When I did bad shit, the ripple effect affected not only me, but everything around me and everything, that so if I just do the right things, the ripple effect will, and that's all I could do, bro. Because every time somebody gets sober, somebody's dying,
Mm.
and it's like a continuous fight. I don't know what the answers are.
Yeah.
I mean, all I could do is my part.
So let's hear about this relapse.
All right, so 20 years in, clean and sober,
Killing it.
everything's great. I'm in the trade.
Yeah.
I
No longer an apprentice.
I'm well beyond apprentice. I'm running jobs. I'm a foreman and a
Nice.
whole other friggin', bunch of pressure. But, you, I could handle anything today. It doesn't friggin' even matter.
Right.
So the back injury, I think, I was stuck on time, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
I looked at it as stripes. Like, oh,
Military.
I got,
Yeah.
So the ego,
Ego creeping in.
yeah,
Bastard.
absolutely. I know it all. I got this. I don't need help. I'm good. And I was on this mission to chase money because I was making good money. I wanted things in my life that I didn't have as a kid.
Yeah.
I was not repeating the pattern. I had a great job, great future. I wanted the house, the girl, the car, the this, the that. Like I've heard you share that about,
I don't know anything about that.
well, here's the thing. Like I've heard before, happiness is a friggin' inside job, dude. And if
Mm.
I'm not happy on the inside, no
Beautiful.
matter what the hell I get, there's always going to be another thing, another thing, another thing, and then still not happy. So it was like chasing the external shit
Yep.
when the problem was internal.
Oh, love it.
So the back injury happened. I started on painkillers. I didn't tell
Hold
people.
on. Slow it down before you get right into that. I just want to say, I bet you, tell me if I'm wrong, I bet you started off saying, I'm going to take these as prescribed.
Oh,
Right?
sure.
Told your sponsor.
I'm gonna listen to the directions.
Yeah, man. All right.
Sure. Here's the funny thing. I had a plan. The plan was I'm gonna just take them when I'm in pain.
Okay.
That was the plan. The problem with that is once the thing is in me, the plan goes out the window. I'm not going to abide by the plan. I am now being controlled by that thing again. That's the problem. So, what do you think happened? Painkillers. Then I'm on Xanax because I was getting too much anxiety. And, before I knew it, I'm, now trying to get shit from overseas. And, I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to give people ideas. But I need more than what my doctor's giving me. Let's say that.
Okay.
Now, the funny thing was because I heard throughout like recovery, people stopped going to meetings and I continued, bro. I went at least 4 or 5 times a week. I showed up. Sometimes I was so depressed. Sometimes I was so depressed that I just got dressed to go out to a meeting at 5 o'clock, and then I'd come home and go back to bed.
Because you're not working, right, at this point.
No, I'm not. No.
Did you have surgery?
I did.
Yeah. So you were off for a while. Did
Yeah.
nobody knew at the meetings what was going on?
I didn't tell them.
Yeah.
I kept it to myself because it was the way I thought was it was none of their business what I'm doing. I'm coming to meetings and I'm helping people and I'm getting my coin every year. Dude, I collected 21 years, 22 years, 23 years.
Holy shit.
The problem with that was that, you remember how I said I wanted to die like earlier, through the hole inside and all that? It all fucking came back, man.
Roaring.
Just from, I wasn't even doing heroin. I was, but it took my soul again. And I was trying to, like, I couldn't be happy no matter what. I was depressed all day, all the time. And I thought, okay, maybe I just need to sit down and do a fourth step. That'll help me. So that was my bright idea. Insane again.
Here we are again.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
My thinking is going to help me. Yeah. My thinking is what got me here. So there was a song on the radio, man. I had on XM. It was the Coffee House channel. So I'll never forget this song, bro. It made me start fucking crying like a baby. The song was Matt Simon, and the song is called Catch and Release. Whenever I hear that song, it brings me right back to that day. So I'm sitting there with the pen. I'm ready to do a fourth step.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it all to myself. I'm just going to write this and show it to God and say, all right, help me, make it all clean again. Yep. I don't know. That song comes on and I start bawling. And the answer was, you need to go to your meetings and raise your hand and say, you've been lying for 3 years. And I was like, fuck, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. How, we got face everything and recover, or fuck everything and run.
Run.
That sounded like good to me. I want to run, because, the guy who was afraid to face them wanted to just, run to other meetings where people didn't know me.
Right.
I'll start over there, the easier, softer way that you hear. Dude, the thing was, I needed to come clean. And that was all a process, so it was really doable, but I had to break it down with, okay, I'll just tell my sponsor. And I ain't telling anybody else. And then I told my sponsor. And then it was, okay.
Whoa. You told your sponsor. Tell me about that, man. That had to be hell. How long did it take you to work up to that?
It was within that day of crying. It was really all within a couple of hours. I was bawling my eyes out.
You really came to it.
Oh, yeah. It was like a nice snap back into reality with God.
How did it feel when you gave him those words, man?
Well, you know what? He started crying on the phone too, and then he ended up coming over and we just sat face to face. And I said to him, I said, bro, I'm telling you all this, but I am not going to a meeting and I am not raising my hand and I am not getting rid of my drugs, because from now on, I will take them as directed. And he looked at me. Because I think I could still fool myself. Shit, man. Are you kidding? So he looks at me. He goes, okay. And then we start talking a little more. And I said, okay, well, then I'll go to the meetings and raise my hand and tell them everything. But I am not getting rid of my drugs. So I kept negotiating.
Yep.
It was funny, man. When I look back, it was just really funny. Like a little kid. I ain't doing that. I don't want to, So then, another hour goes by and I said, all right, I need to give them up. And so we dumped them in the toilet, watched it flush. I probably cried.
Oh, I would have cried.
Because again, I didn't know how to live without them. Again, I was dependent again. It was like, and I remembered I did it before. I didn't need this shit. How did I do it before? I was so like stuck in, I need them. And it wasn't the truth. It's the lie that it feeds you. Yeah, it's the truth. So that was the beginning, bro. I raised my hand and I thought people.
Wait. Sorry. So that was the same day? Did you go to a meeting that day?
No.
So you flushed them and then.
The next day, probably the next day.
Do you remember if it was morning or night meeting?
No, it was a night meeting.
Okay, so tell me.
So I had all the day to like freak out about it.
Right?
So I did. And actually, I remember that particular meeting when
Yeah.
they were reading how it works. I started crying.
Was
I
this
heard
your
that
home
50
group?
million times. This particular day, because I was raw again, I
Yeah.
heard the words and it hit me and I started crying. And I'm like, fuck, you know, they're going to know. And I said, well, they got to know because I got to raise my hand. So,
Was it so was it was that your home group?
yeah.
And when they finished reading all the readings at the beginning of your 12-step meeting, where did you just say, screw it, I'm gonna do it now, or did you?
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't wait. I wasn't wait. I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to like say it.
So walk me through it, man. What happened?
Well, no, I raised my hand and I said something like, I relapsed and it wasn't a one time thing. It was a 3 year relapse. And every time I got my coin, it was a lie. And oh, dude, I mean, I spilled my guts.
How many
I
people were
mean,
in the room?
it was a smaller meeting, this particular, because it was on a weekend. It was in this halfway house kind of thing. So
Okay.
we're probably 10 to 15 people.
And,
But
and
then, but then I went back to my home group where it's like 40.
yeah.
And I did it again because I felt like whoever wasn't there needs to hear it too. Like I'm not going to, and I just kept talking about it until I didn't have to talk about it. And that was the beginning again. And because of that, dude, my sobriety or my spirituality opened so much more up. Like it's all around me now. Like I just went deeper this time, and that's the beauty of crashing and burning again. It's kind of like, man, use this and open up even more, so I mean, I'm a guy of integrity today. What I say, I mean it. I mean what I say. I don't say it mean. And no, it's a beautiful journey. And like I want to get to the damn West Coast before I'm freaking ancient.
Hey.
And so that may happen in the next year, or hopefully not longer than that.
2020 vision, brother.
God,
So
so
what's your
that's
message to anybody listening right now that needs some inspiration? As if
well.
you haven't provided enough already.
Because you know what? When I hear people say, if I could do it, you could do it, that didn't mean shit to me because they weren't me. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But I really say that because I know how hard headed and so stuck in this shit that I was. But I also know that it takes what it takes. People they have to go through what they need to go through to get to want change. I can't just help people I think, like you've probably heard, every bottom has a bottom.
Right.
The thing is, like a smart man will learn from other people's mistakes, not even his own, but other people, you know. So I say, if you want to change your life, all you got to do is make a decision. That's really all it is. Decide today's the day. And then the other thing about, getting clean and sober again, I got 3 years again.
Nice.
So the other thing is got that. I know what white knuckling is now.
Right.
Okay. I've heard that term before. You white knuckled it. That's hard as shit, bro, because the first time I got clean and sober, I went away to a place that was helping me. This time I had to fight the addiction on my own. I wanted those fucking drugs, but I felt like a raw nerve every day, like, freaking out, like all over the place. But I had to keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's white knuckling. Because when you're in a place like a rehab or something, you're around other guys, you got the support, that stuff. When you're by yourself, man, trying to, like you said before, like 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, that shit's coming out of my body again and I'm fucking freaking out and I want more. How
Right.
do you do that? It's hard. I say to anybody, if you want to change, make a decision and go away and get help because it's the best. And if you don't have money, I didn't have money. I didn't even have insurance
Right.
back then. there was a place that took me free.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. It wasn't a fucking country club. It wasn't some, beautiful. It was a shithole. But it was better than the shithole I was living in. And it gave me the tools I needed to walk out the door and do it on my own. So
Beautiful.
you know what? I say go get help.
Beautiful.
It's just a decision, bro. That's all.
That's beautiful.
Today I'm gonna do it. Because I know I did a lot of on Monday,
Yeah.
after the weekend, on Monday, I'm gonna.
Yeah. I'm gonna stay stuck. Man, this has been a really powerful hour, man, Nick. I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing this story. Everything that you said was completely relatable to me and my experience, and I think that's the one of the big messages. Getting sober, getting clean, it's a process. There's a lot of things along the way. I always like to point out that relapse. I used to tell myself relapse is something that's something I hear in the rooms, which is not fucking true. Relapse is not a part of recovery. Relapse is part of the disease. Recovery is recovery. And when we relapse, if we're struggling to get long-term sobriety, um, I can't beat myself up. That was one of the things that kept me stuck for so long, man, because I just feel so much depression because I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew where the answer was too, like you did for 3 years, and yet it was hard to walk through that door, man. My hat's off to you, man, that to have a 20-year marker and then to go back out, the crushing embarrassment and all the guilt and the shame and regret that must have come around that, bro. That's just soul crushing. The fact that you stood up under that weight and walked back in and cast it off in front of those people, that tells me your character. And when you tell me you're a man of integrity, you don't even need to, because I already see it in your face. I hear it in your words and your expressions, man. It's been an honor. Wow, I'm impressed, man. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great service, man. So with that, unless you've got any parting words
Well,
or
I just wanted to say for anybody out there that's, you're living in a life that you're not excited about, you're depressed, you hate what you're doing. All you got to do, man, is make a decision. Today's going to be the day. And I could tell you, for me, my whole world changed. The people around me, all that. And it's hard to let go of old friendships. I know it is, but I'm also not going to let old friendships hold me back from my dreams today. Because if they're your friends, they're going to want the best for you. If they don't want the best for you, they just want a get high buddy. Well, then what's that adding to your life, really? Get rid of them,
Yeah. Yeah. What are your friends like now, man? How do they compare to your old?
Everybody's too nice, I'm not used to that. It's kind of like,
It's weird, huh?
well, it is. It's really, if I ask for help, there's like 5 guys. They'll come and help me do whatever. And they're like, whatever you need, man. It's like, really?
Right.
And I still hate asking for help. I really do. I do a lot of things myself because I don't know. Maybe it's feeling good about it once I say, yeah, I moved that shit myself. Look at what, I cut down trees myself, bro. I'm not even a lumberjack. You should see some of this shit. I could have died there too, see?
Oh, man.
So it's just,
It'll kill us if we don't have to start asking for help. That's true.
Yeah, I know. I got to get better with that.
Hey, man, we're all works in progress, man, for life. The goal is to die sober. Listen, if you enjoyed this podcast, head on over to recoveryauthors.org. Check us out. My man Nick was the guest today, and obviously we hit another home run with him. So thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the